Pigment growth story might just be the recipe for building the most effective BDR teams in SaaS. Under Alexis Valentin leadership, Pigment Outbound team went from 2 to almost 50 BDRs in just 3 years. This helped Pigment grow from a small company of 50 employees to nearly 500. And they win big clients from the Fortune 500. Alexis has created one of the industry's most respected outbound tech stack, and it keeps improving. Today, Alexis will share how to make outbound your number one growth engine. Pigment uses some ideas that most companies haven't tried yet, and Alexis is here to share the exact tactics he's used to succeed in enterprise outbound. Welcome back to the Outbound Kitchen podcast. I'm Eric, the Outbound Chef, and this is your go-to place for scaling outbound. Let's get cooking. So let's start with the evolution of the team, because you said when you joined, you had 2 BDRs and now you have almost 50 BDRs. So could you give us some more context around that?
Sure. So joining from Facebook to Pigment 3 years ago, so it was September, October 2021. Great BDRs that already existed. I was very lucky because my boss at Pigment was my ex-boss as Meta. So it was very easy to create that trust. And the first hire that we had were very well hired, of course, because of him. And he gave me a mission to say, hey, I don't care how we do it, but we need pipeline. Pipeline is our oxygen for the next few months and quarters. We need to have pipeline, open conversation with new account that we don't have relationship with, and we don't have much relationship back in the days. Nothing or very little existed when I joined in terms of databases, list of targeted accounts, contacts, tools, processes. So it can be worrying, but it's also a real pleasure, I can tell you, and I'm speaking here for the young companies who might be watching us today, to start with a blank sheet, because you don't have a legacy system, a legacy processor that's holding you back, where you have the cost of migration that's going to kill you. You had the pleasure to work with the best-in-class technology. Cargo was one is clearly a great option today, but back in the days it didn't exist. So we had to build a lot of what they are doing internally. And I will come back to that technology stack at the end, I think, of our chat. But at the very beginning, the mission was like, who do we want to hire as BDRs? What type of profile do we want to get? I don't think you want to have the same people when you are a team of 2 or 3 at a very early stage company and us today. And I would say a company like Salesforce, you don't attract the same talent and you don't need the same talent. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is like, what are the targets? What are you going to measure them on? Because you don't have any benchmark to do. So it's more gut feeling or market standard, but they don't really apply because you are a younger company. It can be a tricky situation. And I think, the newsletters and the voice you already had in the ecosystem, Elric was definitely giving us some guidance. And then it was what is the operational process that you put in place to prospect, to do cold calling, to train them, to hand over opportunities to AEs. There's a lot of stuff when you to get done when you don't have a playbook, and it's your responsibility to learn and to write that playbook at the same time. So this was a setup in our first office that we deployed, and at the beginning everything was handled from Paris, trying to capture some pipeline in the United States, and that worked really well. It's an advice that I will definitely give to the audience is you don't have to put immediately people on the US soil if you are a European company. You can start and test it from France. We had a in-culture mentality. In-office culture mentality at the beginning, and I think it's very, very important when you are a BDR. And if you want to deep dive on that, I can explain why. And spending a lot of time on hiring. Hiring was a key focus, because given the ARR target that we gave ourselves, and you retro engineer that with a pipeline target, it means that you need to have a lot of hands on deck to get that pipeline and people in seat to do your cold calling and to email people and to qualify opportunities and so on.
Sounds good. I have 2 follow-up questions on that. I saw, John, you asked a question also on the chat. I'm going to ask the question later because I have some question around this same topic, so I'll ask them later. So to keep going on what you are saying here, so you are talking about talent and the evolution of you're not hiring for the same people depending on your stage on your team, and the metric in the early days. So we'd love to start with the metric. So you said when you joined, you didn't know what metrics did you use. So did you focus on pipeline? Did you focus like on meetings booked to start with, or what was your thoughts at the beginning?
At the beginning, you're not even sure who should be your targeted companies. And when you want to prospect into Coca-Cola, it's very different than prospecting into OpenAI, and it's very different from prospecting to a YC company. The size of the opportunity is not the same. So do you want a BDR to make 1 million pipeline a month, or do you want to make a BDR make 10 million? You don't even know what's feasible. At the end, what you really control is the number of hours you work during the day, the number of touch points you can have with a prospect, and you can spread those touch points into meaningful and not really meaningful. So automation and qualitative conversation on the phone, qualification Zoom call, those kind of situation. And based on that, at the beginning, we're measuring activities and pipeline generated through that. What was pretty hard is, and I think that's still the case nowadays, is you have people that are very successful in terms of pipeline that generate, but they are not at the top of the board on the activity one. And it sounds crazy, but it's a reality. So you want to have in between data point, understand where is the ball dropping. Is it the quality of those conversations? How long do they stand for? Did they manage to convert into a first meeting? Because it's not because you have a first meeting when you sell a complex product like Pigment that you recognize that as pipeline. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 meetings sometime before the account executive is accepting that opportunity and recognizing that as pipeline. So number of meeting booked was a very important one, and I think it's a metric that I look at the most, because if you don't have your meeting booked, you will not have your pipeline generated few weeks from now. And I would say I love to measure people in general life on things they control. Whether a company like Coca-Cola, I was mentioning them, have a project or not, it's hard to say. But doing your maximum to find the right person at Coke, to understand their challenges, to transform those challenges into your value prop, going through all the possible channel to reach out to that person and securing a meeting, I believe is what you control. And I will always defend a BDR that's hitting their meeting booked target and not necessarily converting those into pipeline. Because at the end, when you have the best product on the market and you are targeting the right companies, and we can come back to that because this is not the responsibility of the BDR in a world like Pigment, they don't choose the company they go after. So if you have the right numbers of meeting booked and you have the best product, people will come back to you if timing is not right. And I really want to make sure people don't get stressed on what they don't control, even if though they are paid on generated pipeline, because it has to make sense financially for the company. It's why you don't pay as well an account executive on the number of meetings he or she held, but on revenue generated. You want to make sure you don't pay a BDR on their variable comp on their activity, for example. That will be nonsense. But I love my number one metric on your slide will be the number of meetings booked, because it's the first indicator that a BDR can control that can really lead to performance. And after that, you can have a bit of granularity. How many, of course, activities led to a meeting, but what is the quality of the meeting you book? Is it with senior people, junior people? What kind of persona are you going after? So you can understand some kind of pattern of those buckets, seniority persona that are converting better to an opportunity, an accepted opportunity or not. What's an average size of an opportunity with a senior HR person or junior finance folk? This will also help you get some data point on where a BDR should focus in order to achieve the pipeline at the end of the month. Last thing that let's change a bit from the beginning is at the beginning we were monitoring BDR per the quarter, and I think that was a mistake. We are a high velocity business in a BD organization. Our sales cycle at Pigment are long. They can be 3, 4, 5, 6 months. A BDR is good on a certain week or is not good on a certain week. And I think targets can be even break down on a weekly basis. We are Wednesday, 6th of November. I can tell you tonight, 11 p.m., when the Toronto office will go back home, if we are going to have a good week or not on that first week of November. And the success of a quarter is just the addition of every week. And it's not something you wake up at month number 2.5 and say, oh my God, I'm not going to hit that pipeline number. So I think bringing some urgency and recognizing performance week over week is the kind of culture and attitude you want to have, even though you are selling complex B2B software that takes time to sold once the opportunity is generated.
Okay, so you started to talk about complaint, and you started to talk also about weekly quota. Do you have like a monthly quota for the team, or is it like a weekly quota already?
No, we have a monthly quota. We pay
Monthly
people per the month, but at the end, we expect people to deliver every week, if not every day. Every day is a bit tricky because you need to do at least some strategic thinking, some collaboration with account executive, and we can have a chat about that as well. How you can optimize the relationship between AE and BDR. We are very lucky here at Pigment. For most of the BDR, it's a one-to-one relationship. You are supporting one AE, and basically it's a couple who are going to win together. Who's going to win together? And so on a Monday, you can strategize how you want to attack Coca-Cola and make sure you understand potential pain and address that value with your product and deliver those messages across the week. So it's hard to measure per the day, but when you have 50 BDRs, you should see regular meetings coming multiple times during the day. So if on Wednesday at noon, I don't see 4, 5, 6 meetings booked already by the team, mainly in Europe because it's my morning, I'm worried. I'm like, is something wrong? Did something broke into our tech stack? And this is the beauty of having, a quota spread around 50 reps. You have less spike on the performance and a more flat frequency of new meeting booked.
Okay, and now the question on compliance. So do you pay your BDRs on stage 2 opportunities? So when the AE accepts the opportunity, but for you specifically, you measure the number of meeting booked.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So factually, it depends on the level of your BDR. I really want to have a BDR Academy at Pigment. I really want to have people who can grow and stay a BDR and a performant BDR and a happy BDR for 2, 3, 4 years. And I think there is really a chance to learn and grow with the company being 4 years a BDR. So we have a program with different levels. Now it's 4 different levels. You have BDR level 1, 2, up to 4. It's changed name at level 3. I stole the ECS, Enterprise Corporate Sales, from Salesforce. And they have a slight different role. But basically, the comp model change through that journey of evolution. When you are a very junior BDR, so right out of university, we're measuring you roughly 50-50 on the number of meetings you book and what converts. Once you are BDR level 2, you are solely measured on number of opportunity that gets transformed into accepted pipeline. So stage 2 in common language on Salesforce or on HubSpot. And for ECS, so Enterprise Corporate Sales, so BDR level 3 and 4, which more or less represent 3 to 5 years of experience already, you are getting paid both on the volume of pipeline you generate and the deal that I close one with that AE that you support. And this is a way for the BDRs to participate and support the deal through the funnel. The reason why we do that is because it's very hard at Pigment, and because of the complexity of the product and the type of persona we are addressing and the size, as you mentioned, 100K plus ACV, to transform a BDR in 18 months into a really good AE. It's tricky, especially on an enterprise market. You need some credibility, you need some competency in terms of finance, in terms of sales that you cannot acquire in 18 months. So we are giving a chance to those BDR to stay in a pipeline generation first role, creating some S2 on a book of business with an AE, but learn through those sales cycle with the AE for them to be mini AEs and get ready to be a solo AE at some point, maybe not immediately on an enterprise book of business, but on a mid-market or in between mid-market and enterprise segment. And this worked really well because they know very well how to generate pipeline, and they can free up their agenda to participate and support those deals, whether it's answering RFP, it's adding new people into the loop, making sure, all the teams who are winning deals at Pigment are working well together. It takes an army here to win a deal. You have solution consultants, a team, legal team, marketing team. Everyone is participating to win a deal. It's never a one solo person who wins a deal. And coordinating, all of those people is not that easy. And I think it's a great way for the senior BDR, called also ECS, to participate into those missions.
Got you. So that's the first time I'm hearing about this role specifically. So that's interesting. So how long do you think they stay in? How long?
So hard to say because I only have 3 years in the company, but we have BDRs that are here since day one and that are still BDRs as an ECS, as an enterprise corporate sales, of course, with an evolution of competency, evolution of salary, evolution of responsibility. I would say if you are capable of holding your people into a pipeline generation first mission, up to 2.5 years, 3 years, you have a very solid academy compared, to all the companies we know very well. I'll read together the Chili Piper, the HubSpot, the Salesforce, the ServiceNow that have armies of BDRs and that can have a lot of churn or promotion very quickly out of the team, which is what we want. I'm super happy to see BDR growing into a partnership. We have also BDR growing to enablement, with BDRs already being some mid-market AEs. RevOps, there is no limit in the functionality after a BDR role. The reason why is because it's such a hard job that requires some tenacity, some creativity, some business acumen to be credible in front of a Fortune 100 company, that it's relatively easy to adapt to your new adventure, whether it's internal or external.
Because we are talking about talent, I just want to go back on what you were saying earlier, the evolution of the skill sets maybe you are looking for. So when you join Pigment, what was the profile of a good BDR candidate versus now?
Yeah. At the beginning, we really wanted to have people that were fine with the startup mood, rocket internet people, chaotic mood, very hard to feel comfortable over there. And I think, people who didn't necessarily know how to do the job, but had some good soft skills and adapt to whatever situation. I would say hard to assess, more gut feeling than anything else when you hire them, more recommendation. And at the beginning, when you are a team of 2 and you have a 3 to hire, it's not that hard to find 3, but finding the 45 others, that's getting more tricky. Now, what we're looking for, 3 years after, we are really looking for people with BDR experience, or at least experience, and BDR is a good thing, but finance consulting experience is also something we are looking at. We see people succeeding in a BDR role at Pigment with 3 characteristics. The first one is their capacity to be creative and to differentiate themselves from the 50 other BDR that are going to prospect that CFO. Second one is about the operational excellence. You need to be on top of your things. When you have a BDR, you have tasks flowing up everywhere. You have insight given to you by marketing or growth team. You have a list of infinite prospects. You have to be very rigorous and never forget to call back someone that you had like 3 weeks ago and remember that they were busy at that time and you were and you had that called you. It's like really the military style about operational excellence. And the last one that I see is really important, and I didn't think about it at the beginning, is the business acumen of those person. Explaining what we do is very hard, and I can have as many explanations as people that I meet during the day. Okay, I will not say the same thing to the CFO of L'Oréal that I would say to the CHRO of a railway company in the US, or the finance folk at a scale up. Even though the platform can serve all of them, getting to know the business model very quickly of a company, sometimes instant, because you have someone picking up the phone. You need to understand which business unit, line of business they belong to, what's their core duty. It's on the spot, and the decision tree of options is infinite. So it's very hard for us to teach you the option that's you're gonna face. It's really about you finding your own way, and you being street smart or have a very strong business acumen to adapt to the situation you are going to face. And this is the hardest thing, I think, to feel during an interview process.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question on this one specifically, because business acumen, I think I completely agree with you on that. So do you segment your BDRs per industry, for example? So it's easier for them to be more focused, or you don't care about industries, or how do you do that?
It's a dilemma. We are not doing it. It's a big dilemma because right now we have 50 BDRs and let's say 65, 70 account exec. Even the account executive are not verticalized by industry. They are by segment and by region. This is the split of territory we took. I hope that one day we can have an expert on the pharma industry across the US, an expert on the telco. It will make sense, I think, when we will reach a seller team size of 100 plus people.
Imagine.
I don't think that we'll have necessarily need 100 BDRs, and I know it's a topic, one of your last points. Like I will speak to the end.
Yeah, no, because I was asking because I know Snowflake, for example, I think they have like 300 reps on the SDR side, and I know they are verticalized per industry because of what you just mentioned, because they want to have like really like people specialized on the industry, and they really, when they have a conversation with a VP of data, chief data officer, they know how to talk to them. And I've seen that. I sold to like data leaders also at a previous company, and we could sell to any industries. And I really struggled just to understand how a data team operates for each industry. So instead, what I did specifically, and with the reps we were working on, is we focus on 3 industries to start with, instead of going after all the industries. Okay, so we talk about talents. No, okay, we talk about the number one metric also you are tracking. Something, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about your data stack, because I think your data stack you're building is pretty interesting. And we have another conversation with some people on your team to talk about with Edward and his twin, talk about specifically about this and to go deeper and everything you do. But what you were talking about earlier about you can operate on a weekly basis for BDRs, and based on the stack you've built, basically your BDRs, they are mainly focusing on meaningful activities. So they can call, send emails most of the day. Because if you compare to, I would say, non-efficient BDR teams, they can spend 20% or 50% of the time on building the lists, looking for contacts and stuff like that. So what's the perfect week for your BDRs?
Yeah, it's a big responsibility to decide where your go-to-market team is hunting. And I think this responsibility should come from the very top. RevOps, sales leader. And that's really important, because if you are chasing the wrong people in the wrong industry, the wrong account, the wrong type of companies, you are just wasting your time. So when you are a BDR here at Pigment, when you arrive on your first week, you get your onboarding, and very quickly you get delivered what we call a book of business, a patch of accounts, a territory. And depending on the segment you are attached to, mid-market enterprise, you have between 150 accounts or 20 accounts. When you have a company like Amazon or Best Buy in the US, I can tell you there is enough personnel in those companies to do the quarter. Once you have those accounts, it's important to first get a point of view. And to get a point of view, you have 3 steps, in my opinion. You have the collaboration of your AE, who is supposed to be the expert of that territory. The CEO of a territory is always the account executive. It's the first thing that I've learned at Dropbox 10 years ago. The CEO of that go-to-market strategy is the AE. So you are not taking orders from your AEs, but from your BDM, but you are working very closely with that AE who's going to guide you on how to penetrate those accounts. So first one is getting a point of view on Coke and say, hey, what's the situation at Coke right now? Where can I find some intel on what they are doing and attach my value prop to that? So a lot of brainstorming around that. And what we've done here at Pigment is we've complemented that, I would say, that human approach with some signals. You have the classic signals coming from marketing. Okay, we know that John from Atlanta at Coke had downloaded some white paper. He might be interested into data integration with Pigment. Okay, it works well because it helps you capture the intent. But what's tricky here is that you don't really control the volume of high quality marketing signals to activate, and you cannot rely on that. And this is what I love with Outbound is it's only the number of hours and energy you're going to put in that's going to give you the end results. And more importantly, with Edouard and Louis that you recently mentioned, the growth team is also responsible for capturing intel, what we call insights on all the accounts that are part of our total addressable market. And we are doing it at scale, what a human could do one by one. So we are not inventing stuff. We are just processing at scale what would take hours and hours to teams, AE and BDR, to do. It could be understanding who recently joined Coca-Cola in the persona that we care about. It could be, have those people at Coca-Cola already deployed a solution in their previous company? Are they following our competitors' pages? Are they participating to events where we are not participating to? Have they been on our website and did not submit a form yet? You get it? One that's very important, I forgot to mention. What job offers are they releasing on their website to help us understand what's top priority? Because when you look at a job offer, you know the responsibility, you know it's a top priority for that hiring manager to solve. We are leveraging a lot of job offers to get that point of view. So when you are an AE and a BDR coming on a Monday morning, you agree that those 2 or 3 accounts, if they are large companies, are going to be the priority of the week. You work together on understanding the point of view, leveraging news, Google Intel, I would say, that's accessible to any BDR out there. You combine that with the marketing engagement that this company might already have with Pigment, and you take these gold nuggets that are directly fed into the Salesforce account to understand who are the right people, what have they done in the past, what do we believe is top of mind for them. We have one philosophy in the growth team at Pigment is we never tell a BDR and an AE, this account is good for prospection. We feel they want to buy planning software without telling how. We believe that, and we are always capable to go back to the source. Always. If I tell a BDR Coke is in the market to buy a new FP&A tool, I can tell you how many job offers I find mentioning that new project that they have, who has been on our website. It's not just a score, it's a full rationale. So the BDR can trust us and convert those signals into a story. And this is their mission. How can they compute with their brain and with the help of the AE and their understanding of our value prop, multiple signals, and transform those into one story adapted to each persona they want to find. And then, of course, we have the classic tech stack on about like finding the right people on Sales Navigator, getting those people enriched, and then a classic sequence. But always do the extra mile, text message, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, voice note. You know them and you explain them more than anyone else in your newsletters. But I think what really makes a difference at Pigment compared to other companies, at least I've been at, is this capacity to measure and take the pulse of the market, surface what's important, put a bit of AI here to convert those into story to support the BDR, because when you're a BDR, you're 25, 26 years old, you have to target this business line at Pfizer. What do you know at Pfizer when you are 25 or 26 years old? It's very hard. So how can we explain the value prop of Pigment in the pharma industry to a chat GPT, combine it to the signal we capture, and support the BDR and not do the job of the BDR, but really support and say, hey, this could be a challenge that they might be facing based on technical report, based on the job offer you fed me with, this AI. And here's the value prop of addressing those challenges with a technology like Pigment. And we've created a tool for that that's heavily used by all the humans prospecting in this company, BDR-AEs and others.
So you are giving them the accounts with the signals that that can convert to a new logo for Pigment. But they still, you get them, you send them also all the information they need, and then they can process this information to contact them.
Yeah, correct. So they get this book of business at the beginning of a quarter or beginning of a year. Usually we try to not change book of business because we know it takes time to get that first meeting and to convert those into winning opportunities. And then through the quarters, we are feeding those accounts with some insight. Marketing is attaching those engagement. Marketing is doing a superb job trying to do some ABM, trying to come with the right message to the right people at the right time as well with their technique. And we do the same in the growth team. And at the end, it's how you can put an Iron Man shield. I love this image in front of a BDR. And how do you make this BDR here at Pigment a little bit more productive than the one at my competitors, and also the one in the other product categories that are selling to the persona? Because if I'm prospecting a CFO, they don't only buy FP&A tool, planning software. They buy ERPs, they buy tax thing, consulting, they buy a lot of other stuff, cash management, which we don't do, those kind of stuff. Is at the end of the day, the CFO has to choose his or her battle. And I want to make sure that my approach is the one that captures the attention for them to explore a new conversation with us. It's the only mission, the humble mission that we have in the BD team.
So I want to switch now to your growth model at Pigment. So the way you're supporting the rest of the business also. And we're going to answer the question of John, because you were asking a question about the difference between SMB and enterprise here at Pigment. So do you segment your team also based on the size of companies, or they only prospect a certain size?
So we only put BD resources for companies above 1,000 employees. And we have, if I'm not wrong, a segment from 1 to K and a segment 5 and above. At the end, what's important is that people feel comfortable in the segment they prospect. And you can feel that people prefer the volume and jump from a company to the other and might get fed up going after Coca-Cola for 1 month. But at the end, and so they will be better in mid-market. And others that don't like to have this volume and want to be the expert of Pfizer and go after Pfizer all day long. But at the end, what's the commitment that I have to the sales manager, who are my counterpart and my BDM counterpart, in the business, is that I don't want the best BDR to be in the enterprise world. No, there's no reason why the best BDR should only be serving large deals. The mid-market AEs are as good as, in my opinion, as the enterprise AEs. So it's not a promotion path to go from mid-market to enterprise. It's more a fit and a need where we have some hole in the racket. And I really want to make sure that a mid-market rep can make as much money as an enterprise. Of course, we calculate stuff a bit differently, because an opportunity at Pfizer is worth more than an opportunity in an SMB company. But I want to make sure that people can grow in their own segment, whether it's mid-market or enterprise, which is not true for account executive. We know that as an account executive, the more enterprise you go, the more complex is the sale, the more the higher OT you will have, and the more senior you will be. And it's something that I wanted to prevent, because I didn't want to have my mid-market counterpart in Europe and in the US, having the weak team. And this is why we decided to do that structure in the BDR organization.
So to follow up on the growth model, when do you know you can hire a new person? Is it based on you have your counterpart on the sales team saying, "Hey, we're going to hire 3 AEs. We need to support those 3 AEs"? Or is it, that's first question on this. And then the second thing is, do you focus on number of accounts a BDR needs to be productive, or what's your thought process on that?
So on the first point, I would say in a relatively slow growing environment, yes, making sure that AE BDRs always match is ideal. Here, we are growing too fast to have that orchestration of people arriving smoothly. It's impossible. The way we do it is a little bit more, I would say, simple in a way. We have an ARR target. We have a win rate an expected win rate on this ARR target. So we need X number of pipeline, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, depending on the region and the segment. To produce this pipeline, we need that many people on the outbound BDR source. Okay. So based on that, I need 44 people in a seat by that day, productive at this rate. Of course, it should match the hiring plan of the AE. But in reality, finding an AE in our market can be challenging. Finding the right BDR, with business acumen in the region we have can be tough. The Pigment brand is not as known in San Mateo, in San Francisco, than it is in Paris or London. So it's hard to attract talent. It can be hard, but so it can take time to find them, and the bar is quite high to get in. So it's impossible for us to have this orchestration. At the end, what really matters, and I think it's coming to your point, but about productivity, but we can keep that for just in a few minutes. But coming back to the account capacity or BDR capacity per account, 99% or 95 maybe now % of our market is still greenfield for us. No one can hear at Pigment that we went and we tried and it didn't work and we are going to stop. No, there is always enough to eat on our territory. One of my very good friends is the account executive at Salesforce covering Chanel. They have 15 AE on one account. 15, 1-5, covering different product, different regions. So we still have a lot of capacity to absorb BDRs to address our market. Now the question is, how do you make that productive? Because it's a total different game to support 5 BDRs in a room like this one and support a global team with different culture, with different type of people around them. And this is, I think, way harder than having 5 people super productive in one office in Paris.
Yeah, I understand the idea with that. So, and I know we were talking about that when we were preparing the live also. And I remember you were saying that your goal is not to hire like 200 BDRs at some point, it's to have them be really efficient. What's on your roadmap for the team in 2025?
Yeah, it's I would say if you have BDR manager on the line or future BDR leaders, never be proud of the size of your team. It's not a competition on the number of people you lead. It's really a competition on how productive and efficient is your company and how fast it is growing and how profitable it is in the long run. I think so. If we are looking at now, the question is like 50 BDR is already a lot compared to our competition and other players in the market. What can I do to make them 20% more productive next quarter? Because if you do 20% times 50, it's like you want 10 BDRs without the cost of it and without the struggle to make them work. And once again, it's way harder to have 50 people than 5.
Yeah, because if you hire also 10 more people, it's another manager, and I imagine a lot of complexity to the process.
I think the HR team a year ago did an analysis, like every AE you hire, it's 8 people supporting them across the business. When you look at TAM, when you look at HR, finance, BDR manager, every AE, so revenue generating people and hire is like a lot of other headcount and extra headcounts. So do not over hire if you don't need to. Try to be creative in the way you triple down and even more on that Iron Man shelf. I would say the first thing is like don't underestimate the fundamentals that is very well written in all your newsletters and many others of these influencers of the market about how to do cold calling, how to open a call, how to write a good email, how to follow up. Those fundamentals are obvious to you and I now, Elric, but they are not for people out of uni or people that are coming from a consulting background. So do not underestimate those. Second thing I would say is like create top-notch process in your Salesforce, in your HubSpot, whatever you are using. Don't have people wasting time copy-pasting number on guessing email addresses. Send me a ping. I will give you the contact detail of all the providers that we are using, and I'll make sure you get a Pigment friends and family rate with those. Third is how you provide. So those two stuff are obvious to many of our competitors. And now the question is like, how do you give them this extra magic for them to win? This is where only your creativity is the limit. And this is really the role of the growth team and fed by many other leaders and inspirational people at Pigment is how you find relevant intel, and I'm very wide when I say intel, about your prospects, to prioritize them, once again, to go after the right people, to find them very quickly. In Coca-Cola, there is a lot of finance folks who is the real one, and they might not all have their LinkedIn up to date. What can you find in their past to make sure you find them? With what point of view? And if you have the right accounts, are able to find the right people, and you come up with the right message, of course, through the right channels and the things that are obvious, you will win. And you need to be able to do that at scale with technology, because you are not going to go after one business line like Coca-Cola, one after the other. Do that at 50,000 accounts in our case. And I'm very lucky because I only have 50,000 accounts in my TAM, total addressable market. But a company like Ramp, I was with Guillaume Caban last week, like Rippling, they are selling to SMB, like Melio. It's millions of accounts. So it's even harder to sell, I think, in the SMB mid-market only world. So how do you bring up this intel that is, I would say, exclusive to Pigment today? And it's like marketing hacks, I would say. Nothing is a secret for too long. At some point, people are doing webinars about the lost techniques and everyone is using them. So after that, you have to find a new way. So what's true right now will not be true in 6 months. So how do you keep your mind ready and your setup ready to absorb new data points that are going to be leading data point to win the market in 3, 4, 5, 6 months? And this is the constant attitude we have with Edouard and we about what can we do differently to support our BDR. How can I help them find the right, oxygen room with people? Because at the end, we are so lucky to sell the best product on the market that even if it's a pain to acquire customer and to get to know them, once they're into a relationship with us, and even before they sign, they are always thankful about what they have learned and how we are going to change our life. And if you believe in your product, you have this grit and this energy to the market. Go ahead.
One last question for me, and then just we have one question from the audience. So for me, my last question is, if you could redo everything, not maybe everything, but with what you know today, if you could redo one thing that you've done at Pigment, what would be that thing that you will do differently?
I will only hire in the office.
Okay.
I will not do remote. It's not very fashion or trendy, but I can tell you it's more efficient. And I think if I can only choose one, I think this is this one. This is the one. And I will not underestimate business acumen during interview processes.
Okay. Why this one? Why in office and business acumen?
BDR is a hard job, okay? We agree it's not the funniest one. Selling Pigment is complex. As I said, you have as many answers on what is Pigment to people you meet. If you're not coming from the space, it's very hard. So at least come into an environment where you have people with 30 years experience in the space and have lunch with them. You will X your onboarding. Doing cold call home alone, it's tough. I will hate it.
Yeah.
So I know people can feel more comfortable, and the goal of the job is not to feel comfortable all day long. It's to do the call in the open space so your manager and your peers can learn from you or coach you. And I think this is what we should aim for. And at the end, to get promoted and to get to know the team, it's also easier for your careers. I've been promoted multiple times in my previous roles because I was sitting next to the hiring manager of my dream team at Facebook and at Dropbox before. It's how you get to know the people, and at the end, it's like doing business. When you hire someone, it's a human hiring another one. So do yourself a favor by being in an office.
Okay, so last question, that's from Drev in the chat. So they were asking, what's your go-to training materials at Pigment?
Go-to training materials, that's it?
Yeah, maybe the way I'm understanding these questions is, I imagine you already have like internal resources, but let's say external resources.
Yeah, so yes, internal, we have a lot of stuff about how we solve solution at our customer. It's important for us to get that feedback loop. Okay, at Coca-Cola and our customer, this is how they were operating before. This is what we are doing tomorrow. So when we are seeing that situation again, we can explain it and say something exists to solve that. And it's called Pigment. Outside, I will do two things. I will do, of course, the Twins blog for growth technique. I will do your newsletter for outbound technique. I will do Guillaume Cabane, for all marketing and go-to-market stuff. Those are good ones. And on top of that, I will do potential, what are the names, like Coursera, those kind of stuff on the product category you're on. You cannot imagine how many Coursera lessons there is on EPM and enterprise performance management, which is my product category. And I can tell you that when a BDR in an interview process has been through a 2-hour course before, then they sound so much smarter in front of me than someone who doesn't even know what planning is, which is hard. But if you do the extra mile and the extra effort to learn on those kind of tutorials, you fast track your progression.
Perfect, Alexis. I just had like the newsletter of Edouard and Louis in the chat, and I'm going to send that with the recording after the episode, after sharing the recording. So yeah, they can make sure they can subscribe to the newsletter. Before we end the live, do you have anything else you want to share about Pigment or about you?
Oh, not much to say. I say, keep doing a good job keep believing in Outbound. You open this webinar saying, Outbound might be dead. I don't think it is at all. It's one of the only thing you control as a company, but always do it in a genuine way. Do not spam people. It's not worth it. You are losing your time. It's not going to pay off. Really think about bringing value to your audience. And if you do that with all the tips and tricks that we only surface during that hour, I believe if you have a good product, it will pay off.
Perfect. Alexis, thank you so much for being on the live.
Elric, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you found this episode with Alexis useful, you might enjoy my newsletter, Outbound Kitchen. You get a free version every Sunday, and there is also a paid version where you receive more in-depth content. I sent 2 already. The last one was Ripping #1 Growth Engine for reaching 350 million ARR. And the previous one was Cold Calling Playbook for 2025, Data-Driven. The 2 next one I'm going to send. Next week, Build Your Personal Cold Call Coach with AI. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to send another one, Crafting Your 2025 Outbound Compliance for BDRs and account executives. If you're interested, subscribe using the link in the description.